In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boys, CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. We've got two special guests in the house tonight. We've got two TA gods in the house for work. TA Thursday. We got CVO Crypto and the one and only Gareth Soloway. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Paul, Gareth, you guys doing well?
Yeah, great to have. I feel it's like an even match tonight with two TA guys versus you guys here.
Heck yeah, dude. We're super excited. You've got two guys that know TA versus two guys that try to act like we do. You know what I mean? So we'll have some fun with it. Let me just ask Miguel, was there any articles or anything that we were going to go over besides diving into the TA this evening?
Yeah, besides Elon trying to buy Twitter.
Oh yeah,
nothing really going on.
So, Crypto fam, smash the likes. Make sure that you guys subscribe. We appreciate all the support. Garrett's and CVO's information will be down below the video. I think it's probably already there. If it's not, we'll make sure that it's added in there. So make sure to give them your support. And at the end of the show, we'll also give you guys a way to reach out to them if you want to do that as well. So let's dive right into it. Let me just ask, just a kind of a brief overview. I'll start with you, Gareth, just because you haven't been on the show as much as Paul has. If you were to describe your trading style, what would that look like?
Trading style, simply put, it's buy support, sell resistance. Like that's just the simple basics of it, and I try to keep it short term. I think short term is where you have the most odds in your favor. When you leave it to luck that no big news is going to hit and disrupt something, that's where it gets tricky. So short term and buy support, sell resistance.
Got it. And then Paul?
Yeah, I mean, very similar as far as the short-term trading would go. I do have a HODL portfolio as well, but pretty much a lot of that's just, built from back in like 2017 that I just basically have held on to for a couple of years. But aside from that, yeah, I utilize, volume profiles and range tools, as well as, kind of pairing that up with certain patterns and, distributions and things of that nature. So, yeah, pretty similar.
Miguel, let me just ask you, dude, what got you? So we've obviously both been in crypto for years now, but what got you involved in the TA side of things? Because for me, for a long time, it was strictly hodling. What kind of piqued your interest in TA?
Dude, you have to be well-rounded in everything you do, right? It's just like an MMA fighter. He doesn't go in there and just like, I'm good at striking. I don't need to learn about the ground game. I don't need to learn about, takedown. I don't need to learn about, jiu-jitsu. You need to know every aspect if you're going to be in the crypto space for the long term and, survive out here. It's difficult. So you need to know about everything, TA, NFTs, the crypto, different technologies out there, the different platforms. So, TA is one of my weakest aspects in the crypto space. So that's why I'm learning about it.
Yeah, dude, me too. I am right there with you. I felt like it was something that I needed to really get more well-rounded on when we we've got this fantastic channel and people that, reach out to us for, hey, what's the market looking like? And it's great to have somebody like Paul, somebody like Gareth on the show once a week, but we just realized really quickly that, hey, we need more than that. And that's definitely why we started diving more and more into TA. And plus, I think it's fun. I think we're going to see tonight, it's an art form. You just heard Paul and Gareth both say a little bit different form as to how they come to a conclusion. And I'm really interested to see what that looks like in action. So we're going to dive into that.
And let's be honest, hodling is boring. Right. We got to do something else besides hodling out here.
It is.
Getting into some trades. I'm not saying let's jump into 100x leverage because obviously we don't want to
like losing your money on 10x is way better,
Even at 50, no problem.
10x is way safer. So I mean, just trading is more exciting and it can make a lot of money, but you have to learn. You have to learn. Not everyone can just jump on there and just make magic happen.
Yeah. Well, speaking of making magic happen, these two gentlemen have been doing that. And I've actually been so Gareth and I have been on around the blockchain on Mondays together now for a while. And I gotta say, Gareth, not to scratch your back too hard here, but you've been like really on point recently. So I guess I'll start off with you. Why don't you pull up a chart for us? Kind of talk us through what you see going on. A lot of people want to know short term, where are we at right now? What's this looking like?
Yeah. So just a couple days ago, we were buying just small positions because ultimately my view is that you have a larger bear flag here on Bitcoin, so it's going to head lower. But like we said at the beginning, it's buy support, sell resistance. So we picked up right here, Bitcoin small position in Bitcoin, Solana, and Avalanche. Last night I was lucky enough to wake up because my youngest daughter woke up and I saw Avalanche was up about 12%. I'm always a big fan of taking a little and putting it in your pocket because that's the way you kind of ensure that you're not kind of just leaving it all out to chance. And I'm glad I did that at this point because, we're basically back to break even on Solana and Bitcoin as it's come right back into this level. So right now, this is support here. If it breaks, you have another major support around 37,000, and I'll probably look to play those again as key levels of support. But again, small bounces at this point. I'm not getting greedy because I do worry about the larger macro pattern. And just for everyone to understand, there's something that's called a micro pattern, which is kind of the shorter term, very, very short term pattern, which would be something like this, where it's hitting support and you get a little bounce. And then you have the macro pattern, which tells you to be careful to not hold on for too long. So in and out kind of right now for very small amounts, waiting for the bigger pattern to play out to the downside.
Dude, that's fantastic. I have seen these too many times play out in the way I used to be the guy that was like, yeah, TA might as well be, snake oil that's being sold. And as we've had Paul on more and more and more, and I've seen things play out and play out and play out, and then at what I've seen from you on Mondays, it's like, man, statistically, a lot of times this actually works, right? So I'm really interested to.
And I think that's just an important point to make is that, and Paul would agree with this, I'm sure, is that it's all probabilities, right? So we're definitely not 100% right. I mean, I've been on a decent little streak that will end. I'll have plenty of losing calls in my career, but it's like, can you just get that average to 70-80%, and then you can easily be wrong a few times and it's fine, but it's the probabilities that it's all about.
So Gareth, let me ask.
Oh, sorry. Good.
Yeah, Nick, there's other people on the panel that like to speak too.
Oh, okay. Cool. Glad to know that.
No, but just joking aside. So you're focusing on this range here, right? Are you just literally just focusing on between like that top range and that bottom range, and until Bitcoin doesn't break out of one or the other, you're not looking at any other patterns or anything like that?
Yeah. For the most part, as long as we stay within the white kind of the top line here, which is a perfect parallel to the lower point. And that's just the coolest thing about, charting is that you just find these things and you're like, wait a minute, you have millions of people buying and selling. How the heck does the chart stop at like an exact line and then bottom at an exact line? Very cool stuff. But that's what I'm really doing is just as long as we stay within here, I'll just play support and resistance. So we went short up here, right into that line. We kind of covered right here. I always cover a little early because you just don't want to miss it. And then we bought right down here. And it's just, if we go back up, I'll probably do a repeat and just do it again. If it gets above here, that's where my thesis of a bear flag would start to come into question, where if we broke out in this range, I would start to say, okay, now you don't have as clear cut a bear flag. Maybe it starts heading higher. Same thing on the downside. If it breaks here, then I need to pull the trigger and stop out of that position and just kind of, it's a very reactive situation where, if your support line breaks, you have to admit it. You just have to say, okay, at this point, it's probably going down more, exit that long and move on.
Nice, dude. Nice.
Paul, are you how are you looking at this, Paul? We can see that Gareth has got this micro range, as he called it, in a bear flag type of pattern. What are you seeing here?
So for anybody that's been on, even this show the last few weeks, we've been looking at this range. So the way I'm pulling this is a range based on volume here. So this is from essentially the January 5th drop down right here, as we basically fell out of the previous range up in here. So we dropped down and created a new one, and we basically been trending sideways in this area ever since. Now this area was the spot we were in literally, like I said, ever since January 5th. We had a couple deviations down here from our range low. This was our when we were pairing up news, right? At the same time, we had from 46K down to like 33, which if you recall, we were looking for a couple of NPOCs at the time, which are naked points of control, which are major volume targets.
Are you on a daily there?
This is actually just a 4 hour. So I'm kind of looking at a little bit of a smaller time frame right now than Gareth was. And I'll kind of zoom it out here in a minute, but just kind of getting into this little chunk that we've been in for, like I said, we've been going over this even on your channel here for probably this entire time as well. The big thing we were looking for was to kind of get a breakout of this range high. We were looking for this yearly key level up here to kind of reclaim this on a closing basis, which was at least 4-hour candles to start it off, but really a daily. We did not get that. So that was kind of, once again, kind of overlaying how, Gareth came to the same resolution as this, is that, we were looking at this at a totally different angle, but that was the same exact area that we were coming at to go short. And breaking back into this range was also another big red flag, signifying that we were going to pretty much cycle through this whole range back down to the range low of about 38.6, give or take. And once again, we have some key levels in between here. We had a major volume target in the middle here, the point of control. You got a 2-year key level. So this is a high time frame average of price for Bitcoin here that we're sitting on at the moment. And I kind of skipped ahead from there, but our $33,000 low right here was actually an exact level that we were looking at as well. Back here when we were looking at this doomsday folder. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but it was right here, right there, 33,500. This was a monthly naked point of control. So this was actually a level that we left behind back last year when we took off in July. So we came back down and filled that out. And then from there, we ran through this range and we're looking up from there. So looking at this on, I'm going to take this off now because that's been hit. Another pretty interesting fact here too, just to kind of look at this. I'll zoom this out to the daily at this point now, is that we're coming down, right? The range low for me, which means major support coming in, would be about this 38,500. We break that, and then we're looking at a couple of, some lower targets here, of course. We start closing dailies below this 36,200, and then at that point, I would imagine we're going to come down and take these lows here at about 33. And then you're looking probably back down and, then we start talking about 30K, sub 30, back in 20s and things of that nature. But one thing I want to point out here is that as far as to the upside, right, like you came down, we basically cycled through this whole range. I would love to come down and take out this 38.5. You may not get it, however, but if we do turn around from here, reclaim this point of control and actually come back through and flip this range high, is about 44,500. To me, that would be, really, really leaning in the side that we're going to continue to the upside. And if for anybody that's been following, for quite a while here, it's this level right here that has remained the line in the sand, so to speak. And in my opinion, I got another analyst that trades with me in my leading crypto Discord server as well, Magic Internet Money. He's pointed this level out for, almost a year now at this point. It just so happened that this was where the 200 moving average came into, but we were looking for this level for the last several months at this point. But this is our line in the sand, realistically, to come over, flip this, start closing dailies above that. And then that's pretty much, what's going to lead us to some 50, 60K areas at that point. And another thing to just kind of, point out here, I was going over this with Gareth earlier, is that if I clear this all off here, we look down to where we came down and actually hit the bottom so far. Let's see here. When we're looking at these ranges here, they're built on structures. It's kind of like moving averages, right? You have your 1 hour, your 4 hour, you have your daily, your monthly, all this and all that. So if we zoom it out to, not the price, zoom it out to the yearly for the, oh wow, that's pulling it up. Regardless, zooming this out a little bit for the entire year of 2021, we had a range put in place right here. So this was the volume that took place right here. Our point of control is actually all the way back up here, about 57K. But you'll notice the major support, which is the bottom of this range for the entire year of 2021, comes in right here. I'll drop a line right there.
Is that where we're at right now?
I'll make it white. And we'll zoom it in, and you'll see this is exactly where we bottomed out at so far, right? That's where we came down and tagged the other day. So very interesting stuff. Like
so
I said,
what's that? So what's that telling you then, Paul? I mean, are you bullish? You bearish? Kind of what are your?
Sounds like 39K is the bottom.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I mean, if we're holding this at the moment, we're right at major support, in my opinion, from a yearly, an overall yearly range, which is based on volume. So traded volume here. So, I mean, at the moment, we're holding this, then, essentially, we would be looking up. But then again, you're in validation of that, just similar to how Gareth was saying, if you start breaking through this level here and you take out that 38K range low for the current structure we're in, well, then you got, your lower levels that are going to be activated at that point. So to me, We basically cycled, from this major key level here. We came back down. We're literally retesting now the overall range of 2021 right here, this low. Which from low to high would take us up, and this is just speculation at the moment, but if we were to kind of see this resolve to the upside here, you would run it back. Essentially, you have a major target up here about 57, and then our range high does come in about 64,000. But obviously, we're a lot of speed bumps in the way of going that route. But right now, came down to major support, so just an interesting fact I just want to kind of point out there.
Gareth, what do you see short term? You see a chance of us moving back upward, or let me ask both of you this: are we going to hit 30 or 60 first?
I think we hit 30 first for sure. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's 20 first.
Let's go, baby. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
Fucking 20. Paul, what's your response to that?
It's a tough one, man. 30 is only the only reason I would venture. I'll play devil's advocate at this point, and I will say 60 first.
Okay.
But the only reason I'll even go that route is just because at this point everybody is looking low. And that's the thing. I would actually say maybe we see 50 first, 50, and maybe that back down, something of that nature, right? Like so. But once again, I mean, it's not as clear as like this Thursday we're coming out with that answer, and then by next Thursday, it's like. You break 38K, and then it's, like Garrett said, you gotta have to be reactive to a certain degree at that point. So, but yeah, I'll be the devil. I'll go against it, and I'll say we'd see 60 before.
Miguelito, dímelo cantando.
Dude, what I love about this is like, even though the styles are very different, right? CVO is doing a lot of volume stuff, ranges. Gareth has also a range, right? That he's just doing support and resistance with that looks. And some people are saying in the comments, like, very simple, but it's just as effective, right? So as a question to both TA guys, and anyone can answer, how does that happen? How does two different styles yet see kind of the same thing? How does that kind of like overlap? What are your guys' opinions on that?
I mean, what I think it is that there's so many, like everything when you're trading a chart, it's all psychological, right? You're trading human emotion. And so there's many things like volume will line up with these same levels. And it's just not something I look at because I keep it as simple as I can, because otherwise I get confused like an old guy. But for the most part, it's just like it aligns somehow. And it's actually amazing. It really is.
So, one thing I'll point out is that right now, like, this scenario that we're in right now, obviously aligns pretty well, but I'll give you a really good example of where, man, where's that? All right, we'll come back to that, of where, how some of these, especially with the pattern. So what I really try to do is I'll align, a pattern that's kind of developing with the levels that I'm watching as well. So, I mean, it does go a little bit more. I just shared my screen there. And, I really made this pretty simple, right? Where I just took basically the high, the low, and I threw two key levels, point of control. I mean, there does come, it comes into other factors along the way. Obviously, if we resolve this range either to the upside or downside, you'd have to know where to look from there, blah, blah, blah. But this is a really good example right here. Back in, when we were right here, going back, right at the moment, or at this point, if you weren't looking for this range here, and my range low disappeared, but it was 38K somewhere in this region right here. I'll just throw it back down there. I'll just say that's the range low for now. Most people were looking for this inverse head and shoulders at the time, right? And about right here was when everybody got really excited about that inverse head and shoulders, and possibly prematurely start, whether you're entering new positions or just holding in general. When in reality, what I was looking at was that we were looking for this range high, whether we were going to clear it or not, and reclaim this on a closing basis. So on this daily chart here, you can see wick, right? We hadn't closed above this ever since January 5th. At the same time, had we broke this level, because this was essentially the neckline of this head and shoulders at that exact moment, so this would have aligned over the same time frame. You'd hit that breakout. We have that. I just showed you how we have that $57,000 major volume target to the upside for the last year, right? So that takes us back up here about to that 56,000. That's where everybody was looking at. Well, time played out and we got rejected basically right at this range high. And when you get rejected at the range high, essentially the probability is you're going to rotate that whole range once again. And that's exactly what happened, right? So while everybody's looking at just that idea, it's just something to kind of stack on to, your analysis. And sometimes, you could kind of argue the fact that it would be a little bit of analysis paralysis, but it's worked really well for us. So
I got another quick question before we move on. Gareth, what makes you say 30K first, and then CVO, you'll have your turn to say why you think 50K?
Let's be clear. He said 20. I mean, he took it a step
20,
further.
30.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, potatoes
for
at that
everyone
point.
and everyone that follows me in here, you guys know that, basically back in October, November, when it was 65, I did an interview and it was in Dubai at the blockchain summit. And I said we weren't breaking out. And I said, you got to have your watershed flush out moment. And I did say 20 back then. So I got to stick with it. Otherwise I'll be called out on it. So I'm going to stick with it. But to answer your question, Miguel, is that basically you have a scenario where you have to get a washout in crypto, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that there's a lot of junk in the system. There's so much kind of rotting crap out there. I mean, 18,000+ cryptos. You can't have them all survive. We need to have some sort of decline that really flushes it out. And I've mirrored, we've talked about how if you look at the Amazon chart from 2000, it's identical to what the formation on Bitcoin is over the last 6 to 12 months. Really about 12 months. And we know what happened with the .coms. And I've been around long enough to see these type of collapses occur. And everything that happened with .coms has come to pass with crypto. And so I just have to connect the dots. And I have to say, all right, listen, the craziness of the NFT market, the craziness of cryptocurrencies with these ones that, SHIB and Dogecoin and stuff that were made up as jokes, having billion-dollar valuations. You have to flush that out. And then I'm a big fan that I think Bitcoin will eventually be 500, maybe a million, 500,000, maybe a million. But you got to have that flush out first. And this is the perfect opportunity because you have the Federal Reserve starting to hike interest rates aggressively to combat inflation. Bitcoin's never experienced this. I mean, let's be clear. Since 2009, it's been 2% or under inflation, according to the Fed. And therefore,
That's a lie.
Right. And now you're in a period where they're taking inflation more seriously than propping up the economy, at least for now. So if it's going to happen, I think it's going to be in the next year or so that we're going to come down there, and I'll be waiting to buy handed fist, every both hands.
Yeah, CBO calls it back up the truck time, right, Paul?
So this would be my back up the truck time too, right? So and I agree with Gareth in the idea of and even just going into without the altcoin flush out, but just the leverage flush, right? Like
quick question, CBO, hold on before we move on. So when you say there's going to be a flush out, is that going to be like a quick thing, or is that going to be like an extended bear market where it's going to be it's going to be a long drive before we see some green days again, or is it just going to be a quick little wick out?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking Gareth. He was talking about going down to 20.
So I think I the only thing I can go by, and probably Paul will agree, is that you have to look at history and how history has worked out. So if I look back at previous cycles in Bitcoin, it takes about 12 to 18 months for it to fully bottom out before it starts to So, but keep in mind, we're already that was November. So if you take the beginning of November, we're already past 6 months. So I mean, at most you have another year of this kind of downside move before it. And really what'll happen is it'll go down and then it'll just kind of hop around at the bottom. And one of the things I look for, and this was a great indicator when we were up at 48,000 recently, is like everyone out there, and you guys probably see this on Twitter. It's like the bulls came out in force. And that always makes me more confident on the opposite side. It's the greatest contrarian indicator. So what I'm looking for is I want to see all out panic. I want to see people saying, oh my God, Bitcoin, is it going to make it? Oh my, then I'm going to be like, all right, now's the time to go in and buy. Same thing with financial stocks. Think about in 2009, for those of you guys that were trading back then. I mean, these companies were getting bailed out. It was the end of the world, the financial crisis. And if you bought Bank of America or Citigroup or JP Morgan, I mean, you've made 300 times your money, basically. I mean, it's been incredible. So, but there was blood in the streets, as they say, and that's the time to jump in.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're halfway through the labor. We're almost there.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask something from the audience here. So Mike wants to know, when he says buy the volume, what's he looking at to determine a good volume to buy? So great question, Mike. I guess I'll throw this obviously at Paul first, because you get into a lot of volume stuff. What are you looking at to tell the audience there, CVO, as it relates to volume?
It's not the volume at the bottom of the chart that you're looking for. You know, there's tools like the VPVR and things of that nature that show you the volume that come in along, you know, certain areas of the chart. Like I'll show you here, right? Like I just had it pulled up a second ago. So
it's not a specific number on a daily basis. It's an aggregate is what you're getting at.
Yeah. I mean, like this is an example right here, right? So this of this cluster of times, this is the entire year of 2021 right here. This is the point of control, which is the highest volume traded area of that year. Basically, was all about $57,000. So this is where the most amount of Bitcoin traded hands at 57K, which is interesting to think about. And you know, you got some other high volume nodes across the board here. So you know, another area is about 48K. Shocker that's where we basically topped out at here. And then you got another one coming in right as where we're catching the support from right here. Obviously down here as well in the summer of last year was another area as well. So I mean, it's something you have to like take in. You know, it's a multitude of things, right? So what were we just talking about there? The back up the truck scenario. So when we were looking at when you're looking at the market, right? So one thing that is so different from years ago at this point is that, especially with the altcoins now, so Bitcoin's one, but you can actually trade almost every altcoin on leverage. So the amount of leverage that is in this market now is just, it's incredible. It's obviously growing every day. And, one thing when you look at this type of structure is that, where if for whatever reason, if you manage to come into this market perfectly right in this zone, right, you've been holding, you did not sell here because you were looking towards 100K or 80, 90, whatever the case may be. And if you're holding these longs, and it could be anything, ETH, 2x, 3x, whatever the case may be, or just anything in general, where if you got into the market at this point or at this point, you're going to put your stop loss right below that previous low. And to kind of get that flush out idea, which I guess, could always take us down to 20K, right? That's always on the table. It's very interesting to note that, you look for, as a trader as well, you look for like the golden ratio, the golden pocket, so to speak. And that's the 0.618 area from swing low to swing high. And from basically the low right before this entire bull run, from that low to the high of the 69K, you're looking at, golden pocket coming in right here from $26,000 to $28,000, which would perfectly take out this low right here. Obviously, this would be the journey of, coming down here, swinging past 30, all the bad news that, you can even think about is going to be stacked at this area right here. To me, this is where, the load the truck area would be coming in. This would flush out, you're talking about 30 cent XRP again. You're talking about $40 Solana. I mean, this would be a complete reset across the board coming down to this level right here. And, that is something that's, that we are at risk of right now, in my opinion, until we clear above that yearly key level, that 47,700. So, like I said, don't be fooled by the, just because I said we're going to 60K, whatever. There's validations on both ends. I don't love right now this moment that everybody is looking lower. So I do anticipate that, coming in as we just came down, we are holding that yearly range low I was just talking about earlier. This range high, the smaller area that we're looking at right now, very possible we run it back to this area. Be paying attention for a reaction. This is just a total idea here, right? Like Gareth said, everybody would get super bullish again. You punch up 10% in Bitcoin, $4,000 move. Everybody's pumped, right? And realistically, you catch that rejection right there. We come back down to that range low. We're probably going to take that out. We take that out. You got WW3 gets unleashed. You got, Fed hikes come in, whatever the case is, right? All the news is going to come around. And then essentially what you're really going to do is you're going to take out everybody in the market basically from last year or even before that, right? Anybody that's literally gotten in along these lines here, you'd have a complete flush of the market right there. And it would just be a perfect move in my opinion. But that's just an idea there.
Let me throw something in here real quick, a little shameless plug, but I want to bring it up. You brought up the word, you said WW3, right? And I think that Miguel and I have got an NFT project that we're working on, and I just want to throw out there that is a realistic thing that could be happening soon, is WW3 or something like it. And the reality is we got a couple hundred people in here. I guarantee you, if I interviewed everybody in here, most of you are not prepared in a way that if, the world went totally sideways, that you would be absolutely ready to protect yourself, to be able to do things. You've got your cushy life, you've got your money, your cars and all of that. But what happens when the power grid goes down? What happens when something absolutely unforeseen happens? So I just want to throw out there, we've got Danger Close Alpha. The link is in the Discord down below. We ultimately are going to have a private access to everybody who owns one of the NFTs to a private server where we're all going to be able to chat, where we're going to be able to pass information. And then we're actually going to be in real life teaching people skills from self-defense, firearms, shelter building, fire, water purification, food stores, all of that good stuff. And I know it might sound kind of crazy, but the reality is, wouldn't you rather be prepared and actually say, you know what, at least I had it, other than, or would you rather say, you know what, I'm going to Walmart, right, Miguel? I'm headed to Walmart.
Yeah, exactly right. And we're going to be helping people accumulate resources for when the time comes. They have
as a community
stocked up as a community. So definitely check that out. Check out the Discord. More information about it as it develops, obviously.
I want to say just one thing that I hope you guys are doing this in like a few more years from now, because I would love to do it and then bring my daughters and have them learn a lot of these skills. Like, I think teaching it to the younger generation is super, super important.
We're trying to go ahead, Miguel.
We're trying to do multiple seasons, and with every season go a little bit further and further in the knowledge and what we're trying to plan. We don't want to say it yet because it's going to sound crazy. But yeah, we're definitely planning this to be a long-term thing. It's not going to be a short-term project.
The thing is like with NFT projects, and we'll dive right back into TA, so don't everybody, freak out here. But with NFT projects, it is all about the community, right? And the communities are usually like your metaverse characters that are getting together, or things that are in digital form. What we're trying to do is build a community of people that are like-minded individuals saying, hey, you know what, we do not like what is happening over here, and we want to be prepared for when things do kind of cave in. So if you guys, I'll get off that topic now, but if you guys want to jump into the Discord, we'd love to have you. The information is down below. Miguel, we want to move on over into ETH, possibly.
Yeah,
What's happening over there, gents? Can you give us a little love for my girlfriend ETH? Because I'm gonna tell you what, love my girl ETH, and she's been making me a little nervous lately. But tell me some good news. What we got going on? Who spoke last? Well, I don't care. One of you can kick it off. Show me what we got going on with ETH.
All right, I guess we're gonna agree probably mostly again. So first off, shout out to Crypto Face. I saw he's in there. So what's going on?
Crypto Face?
Yeah, and great to see so many people in watching and enjoying. So that's
Gareth.
great.
Gareth, let me real quick before you jump in here. Yeah. You should have been hanging out with Miguel and I, like we said, because we hung out with Crypto Face, and I'm just saying we had a great time. You weren't there, and I just want to reiterate.
Parties. Where was my invite, man? What am I doing?
Well, I mean, when you come in and leave in 6 hours, you know what I mean? You don't have the opportunity to hang out.
well, we got to work on my wife then, man. It's
that's right.
Like, go party or have my wife get really mad at me with the kids. So
right. Happy wife, happy life. No,
right.
I feel you, bro.
But next time I'll bring her. We'll get a babysitter, and then we're in.
There it is. I like it.
But looking at Ethereum here, so basically there's just one level I'm watching on Ethereum, and it's this trend line here. As long as we stay above it, you can buy the support. It can potentially go higher. But ultimately, the one thing that concerns me is that if the Bitcoin chart does dump out, then it would be very hard, in my opinion, for Ethereum not to sell as well. And once this trend line breaks, that's where trouble starts. So, I mean, if you're looking for a level to trade against, use that line. If it gets below and stays below for a couple of days, then I would be very, very nervous that you're going to start to see much, much more downside. So for me, if it does break, basically, you'll obviously have some support right in this range here. Eventually, this level would be the next big one, which is all the way back to kind of those lows from about a year ago at that point. But again, right now, I mean, just like with Bitcoin, it's above that major line. It's still hanging in there. It's holding. It's trying its hardest. Can it do it? The other thing just to kind of keep an eye on here is you technically could make a case for a head and shoulders. It certainly isn't the prettiest of pattern formations here, but you could make a case that you have this pattern here, which again is kind of a bearish pattern out there. So I'll pass the torch to CVO there and let him tell us what he sees.
Not a head and shoulders.
Not a head and shoulders.
That's a big one too. I mean, that takes you down to like what, $800?
Oh man,
$800.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And let's,
All right,
let's
I'm
wait,
strapping
one
in. I'm
thing,
putting a seatbelt on right now.
if I could
as
just
we
say
speak.
one thing first, is that I think we should all be aware is that you're right. A lot of people are now calling for 20,000, and the one thing I've learned is that when everyone's calling for it, it either stops before it gets there, which means like 21, and then goes right back up, and everyone misses the boat. Or if it does hit 20, it's going way lower. Watch out, because the market never lets everyone just buy that exact low.
Right. Right.
Paul, what you got?
Steve
Give me
Miller.
some hopium here, Paul. What do you got?
Sprinkle in some hopium in there.
Give me
dude.
some hopium bay over here.
We'll come back to this, I guess, because I was going to say, Gareth, we should go on a bullish case scenario for everybody too, just to kind of go on that route.
Yes.
For that same exact reason that you just spoke of. So, and let's see, ETH. I was trying to pay attention to the levels you were looking at there. Mine's obviously, I know this looks a little busy. I didn't think we'd go over ETH, so I didn't clean it up enough. But ETH, very similar to, this is the daily chart, so bear with me there. ETH here, range high. So I'm looking at this as an overall range, very similar to, I was looking at Bitcoin there. This is a pretty high time frame. So this is actually for the whole first quarter of this year. So all the volume that came in throughout Q1, January to March, right? You got your low, your high. We got our area, the most traded hands, so to speak, coming in right here at about 2,600, which I'm sure that level just lined up with something that Gareth was just talking about, because this would be my next major area to pay attention for, would be this point of control. One thing I don't love that we did here was similar to Bitcoin, was we basically re-entered this previous range. We did break out of it, and we were onward and upward and looking for our yearly open target up here, about 36.77. We had a golden pocket from the entire move down. And then we have one volume target up here at exactly $4,000 from December. So those are still intact, obviously. But once again, that's for when we get, break past this previous high at this point. But on this drop here, two things I was looking for. Many were looking, or noticed that we had, bearish divergence popping up on ETH, right, as Bitcoin was coming into that, major resistance at 47.7. From there, we were looking down. At the time, I was looking right here. This was an untapped weekly pivot at the time. And note that is pretty much where we came down to and where we just came up to before we just fell back. I'll drop a line there real quick. So right there, and I'll turn that off so you can see it a little better. But this level right here is where we came down to from the high, right? This was a previously untapped weekly pivot here, ran it back up, took out the monthly open just briefly on a wick, and then dropped back in. Where we actually just pushed up to before we fell back into this range was back to this weekly pivot, which was interesting. We got range high, which is major resistance, coming in and stacked with our high time frame yearly key level as well. And like I said, we just came back and we're closing. Let me see. Well, this is the new daily here. So if we start closing dailies in here again within this range, so basically under 3,060, then the natural target for me until we start clearing out of this range. So we had a chance for it here, and we still can. We closed yesterday outside of the range. We just basically fell back into it today. Today's not over, obviously, just started. And but otherwise, I would be looking down this point of control. This 2-year key level comes in about 2870. And then that point of control, that's pretty much the two major areas I'd be looking for. And then you always run the risk of cycling the whole range back down to 2,300. And that would be obviously implying that we'd probably see, those low 30s out of Bitcoin to see a move like that come to fruition, because that would be about a 35% pullback in ETH, which you'd probably be seeing about the equivalent of that in Bitcoin.
Let me just ask you something, Paul and Gareth and Miguel, actually. Do we see the announcement about ETH getting pushed back as being a problem? I know you guys are almost purely technical traders, but do we see that as an issue, or do we think, hey, we're still staying in the same mechanism as per being proof of work, so that's not going to change anything? You think it is going to change something? Thoughts?
I don't pay attention for any of that personally. So once again, just going off of this, so if the news just so happens, in my opinion, just be I will say the news is timed well. I'll say that. So if price comes back down to 2,300, and that's the news at the time, then that is what it is. At the end of the day, I'd still be looking for a rejection from this range high.
What's the load the truck number on ETH for you, Paul and Gareth? I'd love to hear that.
The load the truck number on ETH, huh?
Mhm.
That would probably
Ish.
be
$800.
yeah, right.
Probably like 1,500, right?
Yeah, something like that. Let's
Yeah,
see
I
here.
got, I mean, I see the 2017, 17, 18 high was 1400-ish,
14
give or
something.
take.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think once you get down there, and I think it's important to understand that for me, I'm not a big load the truck type person. It's more like you start buying at a certain level, understanding that panic and fear will pierce the level, right? So you might think, oh, it's only going to 1400, but on a pierce and panic, it could go to 12. And so you buy a little 14, 13, 12, 11, and you kind of dollar cost average. And I think that's really important to do for investors versus saying I'm all in at this one level. And then if you're wrong, you're like, oh crap, you know?
Yeah. Keeps
But
going. Yeah.
I like the idea of, I mean, we should probably talk about the bull case. You know, I think that's important to do. So we balance it out.
Let's hear it.
If it's okay, I'll show my charts here and we can just go over that. So on Ethereum, there's absolutely a bull case. And basically what you're going to want to do is, for me at least, is just look at the chart and just draw your trend lines in. So if we just basically draw a trend line down here, that would be my first kind of signal that there's potential light at the end of the tunnel. If we could get above this level, I think it does open the door maybe to start to move up. You'll probably get rejected at a few of these pivot points in here, but at least as long as it stays above that line, it would be a pullback that could likely go higher on the Ethereum chart. And then just on Bitcoin, we kind of talked about it earlier, but the bull case for me starts coming into play if you get above this kind of 50,000-ish area, and if it can hold, right? I've seen many situations where they get above a level real quick and then the institutions smack it right back down. You want to see it kind of hold there, consolidate, build that base, and then it could start to move higher. But that would be the bull case there, where then you start saying, okay, if it can hold above 50, maybe it can start making its way back to that 65 level and kind of cruising up.
Man,
Agreed.
I mean, oh, I thought Nick froze for a minute there.
No. I thought Paul was going to jump in and give his
I was waiting on you guys to,
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm in.
So Paul, CVO, tell me your bull case, brother.
Yeah. So, going back to that idea of, so from, we went over the idea of whatever, 27, come down, flush the previous lows last year, So on the bullish case here, right, looking at this whole year as an idea here, is that we're literally at, in my opinion, major support, as this is the range low. So this is basically a major support level. And this is exactly where we came down to the dollar, basically. 39 and whatever, from the other day, depending on what exchange you're looking for. As far as just price action goes in this, smaller time frame, you do have your low, a high, a higher low. Obviously, now we do have a higher high, and depending on where this comes down, you could even come all the way back down, depending on, if you're a body, if you're pulling from wicks. I mean, I guess that depends on how you're looking at it. But realistically, let's just say we turn around here for a bit. This could very well just put in, continue on and be an uptrend here. For me, it's this yearly key level, which is a little bit less than I think Gareth was looking at, like 50 or 52. I know he's looking probably for this high right here to get taken out, which is, for good measure. For me, if we flip this level right here on a daily closing basis, this would be a pretty good indicator to me that we would be more than likely heading back towards those highs as well. Once we reach this $45,000 region as well, we'll be entering into the next range above us, which is about 46K. I won't bore you all with that at the moment, but that would be my bullish case from there. Would be if we flip this 47.7 on a closing daily basis, I would be looking for upwards of that $57,000 that point of control area from last year, actually coming in right here about 57,000. So.
All right. Well, okay. So I think Miguel had to jump off real quick, but I wanted to just kind of wrap it up with one real simple question. Actually, I guess it would be two questions in one. Short term, you've got you're let's say your back's in a corner. You've got to answer. Short term, bullish or bearish? Both of you, go.
Short term, over the next 1 month, bearish.
Okay, Paul?
1 month, I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. And then let's go by the end of the year. Are we thinking that we're going to have an opportunity to see all-time highs, or is it going to be a bumpy ride between now and the end of the year?
I say all-time highs by the end of the year or into Q1 of next year.
Okay.
I'll take the under on that. I think by the end of the year it'll be significantly lower than here, at least 10-20% lower.
Okay, so let me finish it with this. What would be your from you, Gareth, from Paul? You've got somebody that's maybe newer to the space, maybe they've been in the space a long time, but they listen to both of you as it relates to, obviously we're not giving financial advice, but they listen to, you know, what you guys are saying here. How would you, knowing what you know, thinking what you think, seeing what you're seeing in the charts, how would you tell people to best protect themselves from the downside of making the wrong decision?
Right. So I mean, I think that's a great point, and I stress this is that, you know, like I could be wrong, any of us could be wrong. So you never want to say, oh, Gareth's going to, it says it's going to 20, so I will not buy a single Bitcoin until 20, because if it goes to 21 or 25 and then rips, you're going to be left behind. So what I like to say to people is, like, none of us know the lows. If you believe in it long term, like I do, and I truly do believe in Bitcoin and cryptos long term, then like basically divide up your capital that you want to invest, or dollar cost average. Like even if it's like $200 per month on the first of every month, just be a robot and enter, because if it goes down, then you're dollar cost averaging and you'll have an awesome average. And if it starts to go up, at least you're participating in that on the upside. So this way you get involved, but you're not committing all your capital at one price point where they might be able to flush you out if they do flush Bitcoin down.
That's fantastic. CVO, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, something similar. I mean, and you know, I know we joke around about the loading the trucks area, but you know, really the idea would be to never be all in or all out, you know, of the market, so to speak. So, and just same deal, you know, whether, you know, it really is going to come down to the individual on what your, you know, strategy is. And I know that comes down to a cliche idea because most people don't know what that even means. So whether you're talking short, like we just discussed, we're talking 1 month idea here versus the end of the year, you know, and like things can pivot at any moment. And, you know, just as simple as being like, you know, if 2 weeks from now, if we break 36,000 or if we break 50,000, you know, this conversation goes a separate way. Like it's just that simple. So my biggest thing is buy the fear and sell the greed if you're going to be in any kind of, you know, scenario of that nature. So, and the biggest thing is, you know, obviously, you know, you can be, and once again, the all in or all out idea is tough. And the buying the dip, you know, can be, you know, an intricate strategy as well, because, you know, you buy from 69 and you're buying in at 60 and it drops to 33. Obviously that's different. So once again, it's the never go all in and never be all out kind of idea. So it really doesn't, just like Garrett said, nobody knows the lows. Nobody knows, you know, exactly where we're going to be heading. You can only just speculate and kind of put the best probabilities at play. So
appreciate that. Yeah. So crypto fam, listen, we'll tell you the same thing we always tell you. The reality is that whether you're trading or whether you're hodling, patience is going to be one of those things that's going to be key as well. Protect yourself on the upside, protect yourself to the downside, take profits, you know, do all of the little things that these guys talk about. Those are going to be the things that are going to make you successful in the long term. Patience, taking profits, not being too greedy. Greedy has been probably, I'll speak from experience with myself, greed has probably been the one thing that has hurt me most and also taught me the most lessons as long as I've been in the crypto space. So just keep that in mind. We want you guys to succeed. We want you guys to win. Miguel, unless you have anything else, I was going to wrap it up. We good?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all I want to say is just keep learning, guys. Never stop learning. There's tons of things to learn in this crypto market. And always, when the things are boring, that's when you need to be doubling down on your education in the crypto space, whether it's TA, just doing research behind the projects you plan on investing into, right? Whatever it is, this is the time when things are boring. Not when there's FOMO, not when everybody's out of frenzy and everything is skyrocketing, and don't be chasing the green candles. That's not the time to be doing that stuff.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice, Miguel. So crypto fam, we appreciate you all for being here. We freaking love you guys. If nobody's told you before today, we love you. We hope you guys have a blessed evening. Paul, Gareth, thank you again for coming on. We really appreciate you guys. Okay. And you know what? Just remember, question everything.
Trust nothing.
And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We'll see you soon.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.